Sunday Sews. Today we're making the Hansie woven tee by Seamwork. Here is the layout for the cutting out. You cut the front and the back both on the fold, and I'm cutting out also the pocket, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to do that. I've graded mine from a size 16 out to a size 18. As you probably noticed, I decided not to do the facing, so I'm stitching together a square cut diagonally into a parallelogram where I'm going to take strips of about 1.5 inches to create a neck binding, which will be bias. So I'm just stitching this together, and I'm already noticing that this fabric is really not the easiest to work with. But anyway, we will persevere because I'm sure it's going to look a great top when it's finished. So once I've got this stitched, I'm pressing the seam open, and then I'm going to cut down into my 1.5 inch strips. Now I've just stitched the shoulders together with wrong sides together, and then I've trimmed them, and then I've stitched right sides together to create the French seam. And now I'm just ready to pin the binding around the neckline. Now I'm also stitching, and I'm doing about 1/4 inch seam. I'm leaving a little bit at the back, so my idea is when I come right round to the back, I'm actually going to join the binding together and then stitch it across and then finish stitching around the neck. The great thing about this pattern, Seamwork patterns, being 5/8 of an inch, they're great for doing French seams. So I'm probably taking a little bit less obviously off the neck than what it would be if it was the true facing, which doesn't worry me, it just means it will be a little bit of a higher neck. But I just feel with this particular fabric, the binding's actually going to sit much better, and you're not going to see a facing because it's a little bit sheer, this fabric, so you'll be able to see the facing through the inside. This process of stitching around the neck, you've got to be very careful you don't pull the neckline out of shape. Even though we're using bias, it's still easy to do, so I have put quite a few pins in to hold it in place. And when you see me get back around to where I started, I leave quite an extra sort of bit of a tail, and so I'll be joining those two together and stitching them across. So you can see I've got my two little bits there ready to line up and stitch across. Just checking that I've captured all around the neckline, making sure that it's all even, and now I'm ready to line up those two pieces of the bias, and then I'll open it out and I'll stitch them together. It's a little bit fiddly, but once you get one side pinned, you can then open it out, and then you'll be able to stitch it across and cut off any excess. Then just a matter of just pressing the little seam open, and then it's just a matter of then stitching the rest of the neckline around just to complete the neckline. And then I'm going to give it a really good press and just trying to make sure that I'm not stretching again the neckline. And then I will flip the bias to the inside of the neck. So I've given it a good press. Now I'm sewing around, top stitching that seam binding down to the inside of the neck. Right, so that's the neckline all finished, and I have now just started stitching down the side seams. Remember, I'm putting my side seams with wrong sides together because I'm doing the French seam. I'll be trimming that seam down and then folding it back right sides together to stitch to create my French seam. So I'll do that on both the side seams, encasing the raw edges. I just think it's a nice way to finish this type of fabric so you don't see any overlocking stitching through it. So now I've pressed so that the right sides are on the inside. I'm now sewing on the wrong side, finishing that French seam just to help ease around the armhole. I did a couple of little clips on the inside just to the stitching. Stitching about 3/8 of an inch from the edge, going to stitch it right down the side now to encase those raw edges, and I'll repeat on both sides. Just went away and pressed up a seam allowance on the lower hem and also around each sleeve. And I'm now going and folding over again. Just doing that first press helps fold it up, and I'm just top stitching the hem and both of the sleeve seam hem allowances. Here's my finished garment, given it a good press, and here is me wearing it. Really pleased the way it worked out. Thanks for watching.